Right, into this now. The situation in Gauteng hospital seems to be limping from one crisis to another since 2018, and the conditions facing cancer patients only worsening too. The challenges predate the COVID-19 pandemic, and some breast cancer patients have been waiting up to 18 months for radiation treatment. It was revealed in a recent open letter that the Mamatela Academic Hospital in Johannesburg remains short of at least 6 radiation machines to be able to service patient requirements adequately. Joining us now for an update on how the system has been serving them and what their expectations are, our patient navigator Ouma Mamatela from the Breast Health Foundation, whose responsibilities include providing patients with help going through the screening, diagnosis, treatment and follow-up processes. Alongside her is cancer patient Thato Moncho. Good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time and for joining us tonight here on In Focus. Ouma, let me start with you as a patient navigator, offering support to the patients through their treatment journey. You've called for the department to publicly acknowledge that there is a cancer treatment crisis in the province. Why?
We have, because we've been experiencing patients coming with recurrence. Recurrence, it means that the patient has to go through all over what they went through when they first got diagnosed. It means now they have to redo treatment like surgery. They have to now do the treatment like chemotherapy all over again. And still after doing that, they're not still getting the treatment. So now we are part of the task team with the health government, saying to them, what are we doing for the patient? So instead, for the past 3 months, being on this task team, they have been talking to us about what they are currently experiencing, although it's not helping our patients at the moment. So it is a crisis because we're not getting any help, none whatsoever right now. And the patients are not getting any help because after being at Mamatela, they don't know who to call to ask questions. It's not an open, there is no open line that they can call and ask. So it's the first consultation and then it's dead quiet. Nothing is happening. So it is a crisis. So we're speaking on behalf of thousands of women diagnosed with breast cancer that it is currently a crisis. Waiting for 2 to 3 years for radiation, it is not working.
Yeah. The 3 months task team, which was set up 3 months ago, also comes as a result of the march that you took to the Premier's office in November 2021, where you then recommended that you wanted this task team to be set up. One, because you wanted to deal with this backlog that is currently there, but two, you also wanted to deal with the issue of radiation therapists and how they are currently being paid, and to fast track that, and then of course the broader issues that are being dealt with. Is the backlog currently being addressed?
Unfortunately, at the moment, logistics are more addressed than the backlog.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we are dealing with Mamatela, them telling that they are short-staffed, them telling us their machines have been broken, and then we're not getting into where are we doing for the patient. Yes, there is a current situation that they're experiencing, but what are they doing for these patients who are seemingly dying? I mean, we are sitting here and having to call the patients several times just to follow them up, and then if they're not done picking up, we, at the back of our minds, we knowing that they might not be alive, you know? That this is what we're sitting with. At the moment, the task team hasn't produced the answers for the patients, which is what we want.
And as a patient navigator, how do you feel that the service to patients is not being done?
Look, I'm a breast cancer survivor myself. I went through the process. And at my time when I went through this, it was a smooth sailing at the time. Right now, when I have to sit down with the patients and say, this is what you're going to go through. But when it comes to radiation, we are experiencing a backlog. And then they don't understand until they are in it. They don't understand until they come back. They're like, oh, the cancer is back. You know, that it's very emotional for us.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pain.
Thato, how do you feel about this challenge? I mean, for yourself facing this illness at this particular time?
I feel sad, hey? I feel sad, and no matter how much you might try to ask questions when you go see your oncologist or you go see your, go book for an radiation actually, they're still going to tell you that that's how the system is. You need to wait. I remember with my first cancer, like when I first got diagnosed actually, I went through my first chemo, went through my first surgery, then I had to wait for me to be booked for radiation.
How long did you have to wait?
I waited over 4 months for me to be booked for radiation. You know.
And what happens during that time?
During that time, and that time actually it was the time when the hospital had burned down.
Yeah.
So it was that it's still closed. We don't know where to go.
And what were you doing then for symptom management and
I was taking
alleviating of pain?
I was taking Panado at the time. And Panado is not helping cancer. As much as I say we need a vaccine for cancer, but we're not getting it. You cannot cure cancer with Panado. That's why my cancer came back 4 months later, after my first surgery. I had a recurrence. I had to go through another round, actually, of chemo and another surgery.
And where you currently sitting now? You're still waiting?
Now I'm waiting for radiation again.
Yeah.
And the sad part is that with the type of cancer that I have, which is inflammatory breast cancer, I need to do radiation within 3 to 4 months. Past that, I do have a recurrence. I cannot afford to go for another chemo for the third time again. I'm still young. I'm fearing for my life. So I just hope and pray and wish that the Department of Health actually can do something quick and fast for us, because I cannot wait longer than that.
Do you think they are? I mean, what's your feeling on how they are managing this particular situation?
I went to book for radiation just 2 weeks back. They said I must come back in 4 months for me to do just a CT scan, to read my CT
And do you
scan.
tell them that you need this radiation before this 4 months period?
I told them that I need to do radiation within the space of 3 to 4 months. And they said there's not much they can do because that's how the system is. You need to wait.
What is really behind these backlogs?
I wish we could get a clear answer. It's unfortunate that we are doing our best to be loud enough, and the answers are not there.
So I mean, part of the things that we're hearing, for example, is that 3 machines were procured, and they've been sitting pretty much for close to a year, and by the looks of things, they're still going to be sitting even more. A couple of months waiting for a bunker to be built, because they were bought without this bunker being built. I mean, what is that? Is that a failure in administration? Is it people who just don't know what they're doing?
I really think it's a failure at its best. I mean, if you are in a position and have to do your job, you need to know the spec of everything. Okay? So I don't understand how that entailed at the moment. And when you try to ask questions, you are literally being told that we are working on it. They are still working on it. We don't know. It might take years. It might take years for those machines to work. It literally might take years. So what we wanted to find out is that, can they put in more, work with what they have? Yeah. We understand there is a crisis. Okay, they are experiencing whatever the logistics that they're experiencing. But at the moment, can't they work with what they have? Can't they put in more time? Can't they just get some help from staff, put in more time, extra time, just to help. Work on the weekends. Can we just at least do something for the dying people?
Sure.
Because people are literally dying.
So we've got 200 radiation oncologists and only 44 employed in the States at this particular point. Mm-hmm. This unequal distribution of resources, do you raise this with the MEC and the department, that there are resources that are in the private sector that they could possibly tap into that could assist? We saw that it's possible.
Yes.
It was done during the time of COVID, and it was able to assist.
It has been raised at the moment, and there will be an upcoming meeting with the private department so that they can see how they can best help at the moment. It is the communication with that is still ongoing at the moment. So hopefully it will help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how do you think really this whole question of fragmentation within the health sector should be approached as far as the patients who are suffering from the various cancers is concerned?
I would always say, can we get our voices to be heard, you know? And again, the other thing that I don't understand is that when we approach you and you are in the office, can you just acknowledge that maybe there is something wrong, you know? That we're not getting from the department, and I acknowledge that they have a problem at the moment, or the crisis it's currently with not even breast cancer patient only, cancer patients, most of them, because most of the people are not getting this radiation, and it is a mess. And then and again, what I really was thinking about is that can they open other hospitals? Can Steve Biko help with some patients? If we maybe have access, can we take some patients to Steve Biko as well? We know that they overloaded, but is there something that we can do at the current moment, not looking at the future, the current? Yes.
Thato, you got some views there? You think there's something that they can do?
You know, with just being Charlotte Maxeke doing radiation and Steve Biko, which is in Pretoria, there is still Baragwanath. Can they just open another radiation department in Baragwanath? Because Charlotte Maxeke is catering for people from all over the country, from Northwest, from Mpumalanga, you know, from Limpopo. So that's why there is so much of a backlog. So if they can open up another department at Bara, then it would be much better, I think, so that backlog actually can just lower. So we wouldn't be sitting in this long list that we are sitting on at this moment.
The MEC talked about during the march called the Soweto Comprehensive Cancer Care at Chris Hani Baragwanath. Do you know of it? What does it do?
Currently, they are doing chemotherapy.
Okay.
They are servicing the Soweto patients with chemotherapy, but that's all they are providing at the moment. They're not doing radiation. So it's just diagnosis, and then it's chemotherapy and surgery.
And that doesn't help the situation.
It just doesn't help. Because now when you've done your chemo and you've done your surgery, you still need to do radiation. That's why the backlog is coming back through Charlotte Maxeke. That's why there is so much of a long list that we need to go through, because Bharat doesn't cater for radiation. So if only they can just look at that and then open that department when it comes to Baragwanath, maybe it will help the Soweto resident and people coming from the Vaal side as well. Because Soweto is big, Johannesburg is big as it is. So imagine if people are coming from other provinces to come to radiation in Charlotte Maxeke. That's why the backlist is so long.
Part of what is being raised around the issue of the backlog is the later diagnosis of cancer. That it's not, for example, being diagnosed early enough before it becomes severe. What was your experience? Were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed earlier. I found my cancer early, still on stage 2, and I'm still on stage 2. So it was early for me to see it, and early for me to go take my chemo and go through my first surgery and my second surgery and my second chemo. So I cannot say it is the backlog of not finding it earlier. It's just, I can say maybe the mismanagement or whatever that it is going within the department itself that is going through, that we do not know. Because when you as a patient ask questions, it's as if you're talking too much or you're asking a lot of questions that you're not supposed to be asking. Just take it because other patients have been sitting or they've been waiting for longer. I cannot wait while other patients have been. Why can't I voice out my grievance? Why can't I fight for the other patients' rights who are unable to speak? That's why I'm speaking so much, because I need to get that radiation, and I need my fellow warriors to get that radiation as well. That's all I'm fighting for.
Have you sat down to look at other options? I mean, private sector, is that an option for you?
It is an option, but then it's too expensive if you're not working.
Even
if you're working, because you're not earning much, it is too expensive when it goes to private sector. So you're looking at 80 grand to 100 grand to do radiation. I have looked at it, but it's too expensive.
And you're not the only one, as you say.
I'm not the only one. There are many. I have my fellow patients that I started chemo with, and they went to book radiation before me. They are still on the waiting list. They booked 2021. While I went to book with them, they are still waiting till today. Whereas I had my recurrence and went through my first chemo, went through my second chemo actually, and then my second surgery. They are still waiting. We are still all waiting. So if you earn in less than 3.5, and even if you earn in 6,000 rand, you cannot cover radiation when it comes to private. very much expensive.
Sure.
Unless if you have donors, then maybe, yes. But
yes. By the way, we did reach out to the department. We sent them a couple of the questions that we would have wanted to put to them. By the time of going on air, we had not received a response from them, and I'm sure if they are watching, they will want to come back and give us a response to some of these issues that are being raised. One of the issues is of course, that this is now exacerbated by the fact that there was a fire at Charlotte Maxeke. But how were things before the fire?
Look, even before the fire, the backlog went back as 2019, before the fire. So then the fire happened and it escalated, because during the fire, you can imagine when you are on radiation and it's the fire and you've been stopped.
Yep.
Okay. When we were fighting, we were like, can we open the medical oncology and radiation oncology? Never mind other departments at the hospital. We fought for that, and that opened. Medical oncology, to be honest to you, it is running smoothly. And radiation oncology, when they went back, they still sat there and saw the patient without giving them any treatment, none whatsoever. There are some patients who did 2 weeks or not even 3 weeks, because sometimes you find that it has to be 3 weeks doing radiation. They did 2 weeks and then it was stopped for a very long time. And then when it comes back and then they're opening the radiation, they've got recurrence now. They're going to be doing chemo all over again. That's what they were dealing with. And the situation didn't help at all. But other than the fire, there was still a backlog. We were still fighting that there was a backlog. And the fire happened, it got worse.
On this issue of the recurrence of the illness, there is also, as I read in one of the reports, a sense that the treatment that we are giving currently in South Africa does not necessarily cure or deal with the ailment, but it rather assists the patient to kind of manage and live with it. Is there something that needs to be done there in terms of the type of treatment that we're giving?
Look, at the moment we should be grateful of the treatment that we're getting. I am 7 years out of it and I'm still okay. At the moment I didn't have recurrence. As I say, I did the treatment at that time and it worked for me. Okay. To say to you that we need to change the treatment, it might be in the future. Yes, the treatment can be changed, you know. Because right now, as I am, 7 years down the line, I still can have recurrence at the moment. It is what it is. We live for a moment when you're a cancer patient, you know. You're just grateful for each day that you are here. Yes, it can be changed. Yes, we'll go on the street again to fight. But at the moment, this is what we're dealing with. Yeah. That is actually killing our patients, because we just believe that if they have radiation, then they have a longer period to live.
Right.
Yes.
Thato, do you get any form of communication? I mean, once, except for you going to them and fighting and saying, well, give me an answer, when am I coming in? Do they communicate anything about this waiting list?
They do not communicate with the waiting list. They're not going to call you to communicate and to let you know, no, you will come when, or anything, or please wait, this is when we're going to come, or we call you. They're not going to call you. If you don't get a call from your sponsor, from your navigator, then the radiation department is not doing anything. You need to go there and fight for yourself. You just need to go there and ask them. You need to call and badge into their office and say, I need my radiation. I need to do radiation. When am I going for my radiation? When are you booking me to see the doctor? When am I being booked to do my tattooing? You know, that's all that you need to do. Besides that, they don't have. So it's all that you need to do. You need to take your last 20 rands to go to the hospital and fight your treatment. That's what you need to do.
What would you want the public health workers to do at this particular? Because they'll probably tell you that we are as frustrated as you are, because there's just no budgets, there's just no equipment. I mean, you saw that open letter that was written by one of the doctors saying it's heartbreaking even for us to sit here and watch and having to tell patients that
I
we can't help
understand their frustration as well, because they are workers. But what I'm asking from the government and the department is that, can they just look into our health? Can they just do something to help us cancer patients? Even other illnesses, there are people that are still struggling. You just need to do a CT scan. You can't. You need to move from one hospital to another hospital to another hospital to do another CT scan, because their machines are not working. That's the thing. So all I'm asking our government and department, and even the president, is that can you please help our health department to work properly? Because the workers, they are just there to work, but they're powerless as well. That's the thing. They're still powerless. If the MEC nor the Minister of Health is not doing anything, then they too have got nothing to do. That's just baseless. We just go there to scream at them because we need to lash at somebody.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
What can civil society, what can government, what can the private sector do? What role do they need to be playing here?
At the moment, can we have some kind of a helpline where patients can call in and ask questions? You know, if there is a platform to ask questions, then it could be answers. Because as a navigator, I also struggle to get the answers for the patient. I normally would follow them up. Have you got your radiation? How long has it taken you? But there is nothing we can do about that. There is miscommunication between us and the government because they're not hearing us. Well, you send an email, you call, you go to the office, but you're not getting a response. And in turn, you need to look for the souls that are there looking up to you and saying, when am I getting this radiation? Am I ever going to get radiation? And then you get a family member. Like today, I was calling one of the patients, and the family member was like, oh no, she passed away on Saturday. You know?
I actually wanted to ask, are you finding that you're losing some of the patients? Because one of the things is you're putting us on this waiting list or sending us home literally to die.
Yes, it's happening. This morning I called the patient and they said, no, she passed away on Saturday. That's all we can do. Call them and follow them up and then saying, are you okay? But in actual fact, we can't offer them anything. Nothing. No help, none whatsoever. So for the government, can you please do a hotline where we can actually refer patients and say, call this number. Although we're dealing with a 72-year-old gogo who's sitting there, might not have even have time to call, you know. But a form of communication. Because you go there, you go for consultation and it's quiet. They're not communicating. There is no communication and whatsoever until we intervene and say, what is happening with this patient? And you'll be told that this patient, okay, can she come in this time? And even when we be like, okay, maybe it will be better because now it's a second consultation. Still, nothing. So we ourselves are literally frustrated as well because we're losing lives.
Thato, how do you sleep at night? I mean, what goes through your mind when you sleep and there's pain and
as Ouma said, you live for a day. Honestly, you live for a day. So you make your day count. You pray every night when you go to bed. Say, God, please protect me. Please let me wake up. Let me see my child grow up. Let me see my child finish school. Let me see my child become a better person. And I pray for my child because she's a girl that she doesn't get cancer, especially with what is actually going on with our health system. So I pray that my child does not go through what I went through because I'm the only one at home within my family who have cancer. Nobody had it. So I'm the backlog one. So I pray that my daughter does not go through what I'm going through. So,
do you get any support for those kind of emotional challenges?
Almost there. You know, Austrian is there. The Breast Health Foundation is there. My parents are there. And my friends, even my colleagues are there. You know, I've got a good support system when it comes to all of them. Even at work, my boss from Vision Active, they're very much supportive, hey? I don't want to lie, they're very much supportive. So I do have a good support system when it comes to that. So when I feel down, I do know who to go to and when to go to. So I can be able to ease up my emotions. Yeah. Even though I'm strong enough, but at least I do have a good support system around me. But all I'm asking is that even if they create a hotline where we can call and ask questions, can that hotline be active? Because they might still create it. But for you to get answers, you get someone who doesn't know anything. Yeah. Who say, no, I don't know. No, let me transfer you from one pillar to another pillar to another pillar. Can they create that hotline, but can it be active enough for us to get right answers? Right. That's all I'm asking from them.
Capacitated with people who've got the right answers for what you need.
Exactly.
The question about palliative care as well, Ouma. How are we doing? for those patients who are already at a critical stage, probably at home, that need to be looked after?
Look, we have patients that we have booked and asking for palliative radiation. So far we have 3 that have been attended to. We're very grateful for that. And it takes about a month for them to actually go through radiation, which we think it's not bad, considering the situation it's 3 or 4 years backlog, So for that I should applaud them. They get that on speed. But look, that doesn't mean it works. The system works, But we're grateful for a little that we can get. So palliative, to be honest to you, it has worked.
We want to get a little bit more of these answers, and we'll continue to knock at the doors of government for them to come and talk to us. And we hope at some stage you'll admit that this is a crisis, and therefore need crisis intervention. But let me thank you both for coming and sharing your stories and the challenges that you're dealing with as far as this crisis is concerned.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very much appreciated.
That is Ouma Mamatela from the Breast Health Foundation. She is, of course, a patient navigator and cancer patient, Thato Moncho, with us.